Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did? How did you inadvertently call him?
Well, I don't know because it was inadvertent.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No.
Butt dial. Butt dial.
Butt dial.
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
Sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Butt dial.
Butt dial.
Butt dialed.
Butt dial.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that that was a lie, wasn't it? Butt dial.
Butt dial.
Butt dialed. Butt dialed.
Butt dial.
Butt dials.
You have a nightstand?
I do.
Is it on your side of the bed or Nicole's, or you have one on each?
We may have had one on each in that house.
On the stand is Brian Higgins. John O'Keefe was found dead on his lawn at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's being questioned about 2 calls made between him and Brian Higgins at 2:22 a.m. Let's watch.
Put your phone on your nightstand?
No.
Where'd you put your phone?
The phone was in bed with me.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
And there's Brian Higgins, old Higgy Bear, and he's testifying about the same exact calls in the first trial as well.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right, you said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
I had the phone in the bed with me.
Why would you have the phone in the bed?
We have 5 kids, and if somebody was trying to call or if I needed to reach them, it's just kind of a habit I do. I put my reading glasses and my phone in bed with me. That's just what I've always done. I just keep it in my bed. My wife does the same thing.
Okay. So now you've got 2 phones in the bed.
Yes.
Okay. And your glasses.
Yes.
Right between the 2 of you.
Yes.
Got it. Sir, did you make any phone calls after you went to bed between the hours of 1:45 a.m. and 6:30 a.m.?
Yes.
Who did you call?
I inadvertently called Brian Higgins.
Inadvertently called back.
What time?
I don't recall the exact time. After 2.
2:22 and 35 seconds.
And this is very critical because most of the evidence is pointing to these 2 dopes having something to do with John O'Keefe's murder.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Did you speak to Brian Higgins at any point between 1:45 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. that night?
No.
You say you inadvertently called him at 2:22 in the morning.
Yes.
How did you inadvertently call him?
Well, I don't know because it was inadvertent.
Inadvertently called back.
So I have to explain that.
Well, it's kind of like a butt dial.
Kind of like a butt dial. That you were, quote, hanging out with your wife, and you must have butt dialed Mr. Higgins.
Notice the words that they're using. There is a potential for collusion when you hear people using specific words in their own testimony. Butt dials, inadvertent, I don't recall, and there was no conversation.
Correct?
Yes.
You were asked how that could have happened, much like I just asked how that could have happened, right?
Yes.
And in that hearing, you said, quote, I'm not totally sure. You then changed your testimony and said, and I don't mean to be indelicate, but your testimony was then that you were in an intimate situation.
Ah, so it wasn't a butt dial, it was a bang dial.
Put it that way, with Nicole at the time. And that's how you butt dialed Brian Higgins.
There's no such thing as a butt dial with an iPhone. It's impossible. It used to happen when you had phones where you can actually physically press a button. It doesn't happen anymore because there's multiple actions that must be taken in order to place a call with an iPhone.
Correct?
I don't believe I said that's how I butt dialed Brian Higgins.
What you said was you were in an intimate situation with Nicole at the time that the butt dial occurred. Correct?
I'm not sure if you have something you can read me or show me.
If you're telling the truth, you don't need a transcript from prior testimony to testify. What position could those 2 possibly have been in for him to actually call Brian Higgins at 2:22 a.m.?
Testimony that you and your wife were in the middle of some sort of sexual or intimate situation, and that's what caused you to butt dial the phone at that time at 2:22 a.m.
Plus, you know he's lying because they're married. Married people don't have any type of coitus at 2:22, unless, of course, you're having an affair.
Objection.
Isn't it true that at the other hearing you indicated that at or around the 2:22 time frame, you and your wife were in bed together in an intimate situation?
Yes, around that time I think it reads.
Your call records from January 29th
Yes.
at 2:22 and 35 seconds in the morning, correct?
Yes.
Whose number ends in 5421?
According to this, it's Brian Higgins.
according to this, is an indicator of deception, and we all know he's calling Higgy Bear. Just say it.
The call at 2:22 and 35 seconds appears to be 1 second in length, and that's from you to him, correct?
It says 1 second. I don't,
That would be the call, the initial call from you to him, the one that you claim is a butt dial. Is that right?
yes.
Did that call roll to voicemail?
Look at all those indicators of deception. Obviously, he thinks he's getting away with lying. We can tell he's lying. Women know he's lying. But then again, maybe he's so irresistible that Nicole just had to have him at 2:20 in the morning.
And then you immediately hung up?
No, I don't recall if it, I don't know.
So according to you, it was a butt dial that went to his phone that somehow lasted 1 second.
Right.
Okay. Then there's a second call. If you look at the second line down, there's a second call at 2:22 and 52 seconds, 17 seconds later, correct?
Yes.
That call is actually from Brian Higgins to you, isn't it?
Yes.
And that call doesn't last 1 second. That call lasts 22 seconds, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, you know how long 22 seconds is.
What's that?
You know how long 22 seconds lasts.
Yes.
Of course he knows. That's exactly how long he lasted.
2-second phone call in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long, with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission. That's
Alan Jackson wanted to take 22 seconds and pause. It is a long time, but the court didn't allow it.
argument, Mr. Jackson.
If we were to count off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
I didn't have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No.
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
Sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
To me, 22 seconds is an eternity. The main reason my ex-wife left me was I couldn't last that long.
According to your phone records, you placed a call to him, and then 17 seconds later, he returned a call to you that lasted 22 seconds. Correct?
That's what the records reflect, yes.
Did you tell anyone in law enforcement that next day that oddly Brian Higgins was calling you at 2:22 a.m. and you missed a call?
No, I wasn't aware of that call.
Did you get a voicemail from Brian Higgins?
No.
Which means he didn't leave a voicemail,
Right.
which would suggest that you answered the call, correct?
Objection.
Let's talk for a second about this butt dial. At the time, was your passcode a 4-digit or 6-digit passcode?
4, I believe.
Did you have a 4 or a 6-digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or Face ID.
Well, if you have a Face ID,
We've seen video of Higgy Bear opening his iPhone using his Face ID at that particular time, so we had to have a passcode as well.
you have to have a digit code as well, right?
I guess so.
Okay. And that locks the phone when it's not in use, correct?
The phone will lock after it's not used for a while. I don't know the exact timing of
The
it.
phone locks when it's not in use, correct?
Yes.
And then to make a call, once you open the phone, either through facial recognition or through the passcode, then you have to tap on the phone app in order to open up the phone app, correct?
He was allegedly tapping something, but he also had to tap that phone multiple times in order to make that call.
Did you open your phone with your Face ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back.
Remember that statement by Higgy Bear. It's almost as if he's a hostage with a gun to his head, reciting that statement.
That phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit at least one button, I guess.
At least one, right?
Yes.
So that's 3 or 4 interactions with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one call, right?
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
How
I
did you butt dial Brian Higgins?
I don't know.
2:22 in the morning.
I don't know that the phone was locked. I could have been looking through my phone. I butt dial people often and
So now he's banging his wife and looking through his phone and making an inadvertent butt dial. Okay.
make inadvertent calls. I could have hit a last call from him by accident, thus calling his phone.
While you're banging Nicole.
So you were actually awake and on your phone at the time.
I was awake, and I could have been looking at my phone.
So Mr. Albert, how'd you miss the call 17 seconds later?
Well, my wife was in the room with me. and we were hanging out, and I never got the second call from him. So I'm not sure what time he called. I'm not sure what I was doing at that second, but I don't know.
Wow. Wow. So many indicators of deception. And this is why you thank whoever represents this dope for not properly preparing him. Most of the questions should have been answered with a yes or no. He thought he could talk his way out of it. He takes a little time and then he talks his way out of it. But it doesn't work when you have trained eyes watching you. And now he has no way out. A butt dial is impossible with an iPhone. Impossible. If you're holding a phone, potentially you can call someone inadvertently, but it's impossible to do a butt dial with a iPhone.
But it didn't go to voicemail.
Well, I didn't get a voicemail from him, no.
So it didn't go to voicemail.
Well, I don't know that it didn't go to voicemail. I just know that I didn't receive a voicemail from him.
Thank God for whomever prepared this guy to testify. He's doing a horrible job, which is great for Karen Reed.
I mean, we're all guessing here, but I mean, he could have called voicemail.
We're not all guessing.
Well, you are, because you don't know if he left a voicemail or didn't, or at least got voicemail and then hung up the phone.
I think one of us is trying to guess.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. You know what, I want to see counsel's sidebar for just a second, please.
Did you hit a button to answer a phone call from Brian Higgins at 2:22 and 52 seconds in the morning?
Not that I know of.
You do know that that phone will not answer on its own, correct?
Yes.
And simply touching your butt will not answer that phone. It has to be swiped.
No, I don't think it has to be swiped.
You would agree that a 22-second call from Brian Higgins had to have been answered by you. Isn't that right?
Objection.
Do you agree with that?
No,
Who else was in the room?
just myself and my wife.
And Chloe.
Yes. But Chloe's not a human, so it was myself and my wife.
By process of elimination, Nicole didn't answer that call, did she?
No,
Chloe, the non-human, didn't answer that call, did she?
no.
So who had to have answered the call, sir?
I don't remember answering that call.
If he was prepared properly by a New York City attorney, he simply would have said, Chloe answered the phone.
Could have hit the phone by accident, causing it to answer.
But you admitted that you lived alone, correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room.
We teach on cross-examination there is no reading. Look at Alan Jackson's eyes here. He's reading questions that he wrote. When you're cross-examining someone, all the attention, including the jury's, should be on you as the attorney. On cross-examination, if you're allowed, you want to get in between the jury and the person you're questioning because all the eyes should be on you. When you bring notes to a table and when you're reading, you lose that eye connection with the jury. That's something Alan needs to work on.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, let's move on from this, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, if I could have one or two more questions.
One more question.
Now your testimony is you could have answered the call, correct?
No, my testimony is that I don't know. You're asking me how it could have answered, and I'm trying to answer your question.
Stick to your original answer. It was a bang dial.
At a prior hearing, you were asked this exact question, and you answered, quote, yeah, it's only possible that it's me, end quote, correct?
I don't recall answering that way, but I'm not sure.
Horrible evasive answer.
And you were also asked, after being confronted with these records, quote, I guess I could have talked to him, meaning Mr. Higgins, correct?
I don't recall saying that, no.
That last question was critical. In a previous hearing on the oath, he testified that I guess I could have spoke to Higgins. Remember, these two dopes, Higgy Bear and Mr. Clean, attempted to get rid of their phone or phone plan right before a court order came down. They didn't think this would ever come out, and it did.
Brian Higgins, about a 2:22 a.m. phone call.
That next morning, while everything was going on, I mentioned to Brian that I may have butt dialed you last night. Sorry about that.
There's previous testimony by Brian Albert here that he spoke to Higgy Bear about the alleged butt dial, but he said he did it when he spoke with Higgy Bear at 7 in the morning, right after learning that John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn. Why would you even consider apologizing for a butt dial when you found the dead officer on your front lawn? It would never cross your mind to think about that or apologize about it.
The two of you agree that you were going to both say those calls were butt dials in order to cover up those calls.
We did not say that.
But let's be clear, since then and now, you've gotten rid of your phone, correct?
I upgraded my phone, yes.
And since then and now, Brian Higgins has gotten rid of his phone, and you're aware of that as well.
Yes.
After you're awake and you're up, you
Right.
started making calls.
Right.
My question is, what was the first call you made?
At 7:20, I called Brian Higgins.
So a dead cop is found on your front lawn. You don't go outside, and the first call you make is not to your brother, your sister, any of your kids. It's to Brian Higgins, Higgy Bear, who's not even that great of a friend of yours.
Mr. Albert, you have 6 siblings and 5 kids, right?
Yes.
You have in-laws, cousins, huge family, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, he's Irish.
But on the morning you find out that John O'Keefe is laying dead or dying on your lawn, the first call you made at 7:20 was to Brian Higgins. Is that right?
Yes.
Who doesn't place their first call to Higgy Bear whenever there's a huge emergency, especially a dead person on your front lawn? Of course you call Higgy Bear first.
You did not make or receive any
Look at that Higgy Bear. He is the first person I would call.
calls after returning home that night.
No.
All right, so you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30-ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some
Notice all the physical indicators of deception. What we saw right before this was Higgy Bear take a deep breath and move backwards. Now the second indicator is touching his face. Remember that your body goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode when it's under stress, and it gives you extra energy in your limbs. And a lot of times you try and cover up that extra energy because you want to escape by touching yourself to make it look natural.
at some point before 7 a.m.
Look at our little Higgy Bear. His big old body's giving him extra energy into his limbs so he can run or fight or freeze. And look what our big boy's doing.
That call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie, wasn't it?
His stressful body language makes sense now.
No, it wasn't a lie.
When you were asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records. And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but 2 phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
You received a call from Brian Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
They could have had a plan for which Brian would make a 1-second call, and that would indicate the Higgy Bear to call back.
There's a second call just below that, on the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds, from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
There's not one human on earth that always tells the truth. How else would you have an affair? You don't admit to it. You have to lie about it. Humans lie all the time. This is a huge indicator of deception.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Is it 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
I don't agree with it, no.
You had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
So you think it's possible that you may have butt dialed Brian Albert for a 22-second call that you're not aware of?
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
Huge indicators of deception. Not only is he not answering the question, he's also offering that canned phrase. He has no recollection, nor did he call anybody. That probably was planned.
You had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Berkowitz, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
Can you imagine the coincidence of these two dopes butt dialing each other? Now, we know that Brian Albert is claiming it's a bang dial, fine, but there's no one in Higgy Bear's bed to bang. His phone's not in the bed. They never counted on the records of this phone call coming out, and they don't have a plausible explanation for it.
Somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Isn't that right? And you know that the iPhone does not automatically call people back. That is not a thing, right? You miss a call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
Did you ever previously testify that you did in fact make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of the call?
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back, end quote, and you answered yes? And then there was a question.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins. Can you answer my question?
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of I must have. Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
I love watching Higgy Bear trying to explain something that he can't. The records do not lie. These two dopes called each other. The odds of those two placing inadvertent calls at this particular time in this particular situation is so astronomical that no one can plausibly believe it. And these two have no answer for it.
I did not have a conversation, correct?
I did not have a conversation with anybody.
And the question following that was, you just listened to the phone, what someone was telling you? Answer, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything, and then I terminated the call, end quote. That's what you said at the other hearing under oath, correct? Yes or no?
Can I see it?
And your answer was, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything, and then I terminated the call. That's the only thing.
Meaning it's possible it could have happened.
Possible it could have happened that you had a 22-second call with Brian Albert,
I
correct?
did not have a 22-second call with Brian Albert. There was no conversation.
You've had some time to think about this 2:22 a.m. call, correct? Since that last testimony.
Some time to think about it?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it, no.
So for over a year, you haven't even considered the fact that you were caught with a phone record lying about not having a conversation with Brian Albert at 2:22 in the morning.
Objection.
Mr. Higgins, what was so important that you and Brian Albert needed to discuss something at 2:22 in the morning?
There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
Then why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you and Brian Albert had had a call at 2:22 in the morning?
Objection.
Sustained.
Butt dial. Butt dial.
Butt dial.
Butt dial.
Butt dial.
I didn't have a conversation. I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back, but I didn't make any calls.
Butt dial.
Butt dial.
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
Butt dial.
I have no recollection of any phone calls. Butt dial.
Butt dialed.
Inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
Butt dial. Butt dial.
I did not have a conversation with anybody. I did not have a 22-second call with Brian Albert. There was no conversation. There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
Butt dial. Butt dial.
Butt dial.
Butt dial.
There's one thing for sure. There are some talented asses in Canton, Massachusetts.